Your grandfather retired at 65 with a pension check arriving in his mailbox every single month for the rest of his life. He did not manage a portfolio. He did not pick mutual funds. He did not worry about expense ratios or target date allocations or fee disclosure statements. He worked for 30 years. The company kept its promise, and the money showed up. You will not have that. Instead, you have been handed a 401k plan, a dense enrollment packet filled with fund names that sound completely interchangeable, a disclaimer buried somewhere on page 34 about fees that are, quote, subject to change, and the quiet cultural understanding that if you retire broke, that is your fault. What changed? Did companies suddenly stop being profitable? Did the math of funding retirement stop working? No, it was a corporate transfer, executed over 30 years, blessed by Congress. And it moved the entire risk of your retirement from the balance sheets of corporations that could absorb it onto the kitchen tables of working families who cannot. This is the forensic audit of the American retirement system. I am going to show you exactly how the pension was eliminated, how the fee machine installed in its place quietly extracts 25 to 40% of your lifetime savings before you ever see it, and what the small number of financial professionals who are not paid to mislead you are actually recommending instead. To understand what was taken from you, you have to understand what a pension actually was. A defined benefit pension is exactly what it sounds like. Your employer defines the benefit you will receive at retirement, a specific monthly payment for life, calculated from your years of service and your salary. The company funds that promise. The company manages the investments. If those investments underperform, the company makes up the difference. The risk sits entirely on the corporate balance sheet. At their peak in the early 1980s, defined benefit pensions covered nearly 40% of private sector workers in the United States. Today, that number is below 12%, and almost all of those remaining pensions are in government and public sector jobs. In private industry, they are effectively gone. So what happened? In 1978, Congress passed the Revenue Act. Buried inside was a small provision called Section 401, subsection K. It was intended to let highly compensated executives defer a portion of their bonus compensation into a tax-advantaged account. It was a niche benefit for corporate officers. Nobody in Congress was drafting a new blueprint for the American retirement system. But in 1980, a benefits consultant named Ted Benna noticed that the language of Section 401k could be extended to all employees, not just executives. He convinced his client to implement the first true 401k plan for rank-and-file workers. Benna considered it a gift to American workers. He has since publicly stated that he is not sure the gift turned out the way he intended. Because within a decade, corporate America looked at the 401k and saw something entirely different. They saw an exit ramp. Here is the mathematics that drove that decision. A defined benefit pension is an open-ended liability on a corporate balance sheet. If your workforce lives longer than actuaries projected, the company pays more. If investment returns disappoint over a decade, the company covers the gap. For a publicly traded corporation answering to Wall Street's quarterly earnings demands, that open-ended liability is a structural problem. The 401k eliminates that problem by making it yours. Under a 401k, the company contributes a defined amount, typically a matching contribution up to some percentage of your salary. That is the full extent of their obligation. If markets drop 40% the year before you retire, the company owes you nothing. If you live to 95 and exhaust your account at 78, the company owes you nothing. The risk has been completely transferred. Through the 1980s and 1990s, major corporations lobbied aggressively to expand 401k contribution limits while simultaneously freezing and then closing their pension plans. By 2006, the private sector pension was functionally dead for most American workers outside of unionized industries. And in its place, an industry was born, an industry that needed to be paid. Here is a number that no one in the financial services industry will say to you directly. Over a 30-year career, the fees embedded in a typical 401k plan will consume between 25 and 40% of what your account would otherwise hold at retirement. Not 25 to 40% of your contributions. Not 25 to 40% of your gains. 25 to 40% of your entire final balance. Gone. Without a single notification. Without a single line on your statement that reads, "Amount transferred to financial industry." Let me show you exactly how that math works, because this is the number they are banking on you never sitting down to calculate. Assume you are 35 years old. You have $50,000 in your 401k today. You contribute $500 per month for the next 30 years. The market returns an average of 7% annually, a reasonable long-term historical estimate. If your total annual fees are 0.1%, which is what a simple index fund inside a well-constructed plan costs, your account at 65 contains approximately $980,000. If your total annual fees are 1.5%, which is the average all-in cost of many standard 401k plans when every fee layer is properly added up, your account contains approximately $730,000. The difference is $250,000. That is 25% of the retirement you would have had, but 1.5% is not even the high end. Many plans, particularly at small and mid-sized employers with less negotiating leverage, carry total all-in costs of 2% or higher once every layer is counted. At 2% annual fees, that same account contains approximately $620,000. The difference from what you should have had is $360,000. That is 37%. Your grandfather did not sit across from someone who quietly took 37% of his pension. That would have been a crime. What happened to you was given a different name. It was called Industry Standard Fee Structure. Now, here is what makes this number devastating in a way that a single bad market year is not. You are not losing this money in one identifiable event. There is no crash, no fraud notice, no moment of reckoning. The money disappears silently, one small percentage of a percentage at a time, every single day, compounding in reverse against you for 3 decades. By the time you see the full damage, the time to fix it is gone. So where does that money go? Most 401k participants know, at some level, that mutual funds charge a fee called an expense ratio. It is disclosed somewhere in the fund's paperwork. It is a small decimal number, 0.75%, 1.1%. And because it looks small in isolation, most people dismiss it and move on. That is the first layer. And it is not the only one. In Part 2, we go deeper into the 3 remaining fee layers, each one more deliberately obscured than the last. One of them involves fund companies paying your plan administrator directly to appear on the investment menu you use to pick your funds. When you understand that arrangement, the word choice will mean something different to you. We also cover the target date trap and the exact steps to move your money out of the machine. Subscribe so you do not miss it. And while you are here, tell me where you stand right now. Have you ever actually calculated your total 401k fee? Did you already know the expense ratio existed? Or did this video just introduce you to that number for the first time? Drop it in the comments. Part 2 is next.